Hi, I'm Dr. Ivy Branin. I'm a naturopathic doctor in New York City. So happy to be back at my office in the West Village coming to you today. And we're continuing with our series. And if you've liked any of our videos, don't forget to like it, or if you want to put us a comment in the chat. And of course, also don't forget to subscribe to our channel, specifically because we're really diving in deep when it comes to women in their 40s and fertility. So we're continuing that discussion. And the reason we've been talking about this is I'm really excited. So my husband and I are expecting our first child, and I'm happy to say that I'm actually 43 years old, and I'm actually in my 33rd week of pregnancy. And I'm hoping that any of our viewers that are in their 40s that are hoping to start a family will get definitely some great information from the content that we've been putting out. So today we're following up a lot of what we've been talking about in some of the other videos, and as I promised, I wanted to dive in a bit deeper into egg quality, because if in both of my previous videos I talked a lot about egg quality as being one of the big differentiators between women in their 40s, specifically even women over the age of 35, and fertility challenges. So I wanted to kind of dive in a little bit deeper in egg quality. So what exactly is egg quality? What are we even talking about? So when we're talking about egg quality, it actually has nothing to do with egg quantity per se. And actually, unless you've gone through in vitro or if you've frozen your eggs, you actually are not even going to know anything about what your egg quality is. AMH is anti-Mullerian hormone, and third day FSH, or follicular stimulating hormone. These are indicators of how many eggs, or indirect measures of how many eggs you might have, similar antral follicle count, but we actually don't have any testing on actual egg quality, again, unless like you're actually going through in vitro or egg freezing. So when we're talking about egg quality, what we're really talking about is our eggs' potential not just to be fertilized, but to be fertilized, develop into a healthy embryo, and subsequently a healthy baby. So it's not enough to get an egg fertilized. What we're really hoping is that that egg is going to make it through the embryo stage up until birth. I'm sorry, just 1 second, my notes. Okay, there we go, back. Anyway, so that's really the big important piece when we're talking about egg quality. So what is the thing that is mostly impacting egg quality? It all comes down to DNA and chromosomal abnormalities. And with chromosomal abnormalities, believe it or not, are actually the leading cause of miscarriage. So you might have heard of things like luteal phase defect, or problems with progesterone, but it's actually chromosomal abnormalities that lead to the majority of miscarriages. In fact, about 10 to 15% of pregnancies that end in miscarriage, that are known miscarriages, are due to these abnormalities, and probably about 70% of miscarriages unfortunately actually go undiagnosed or undetected and are thought to be a regular period, or maybe like a slightly delayed period. So that makes a big number. And basically, some of the big factors of the big differentiator between a woman in her 40s versus a younger woman is the fact that we're actually born with a specific amount of eggs, unlike our male counterparts that are reproducing sperm all the time. We're only born with a set number of eggs, and over time these eggs diminish. So there's that one part, and definitely that's one of the reasons why ovarian reserve can be a useful thing to look into. But also at the same time, as those numbers of eggs declined, the percentage of eggs that are chromosomally abnormal increase. So typically a woman over the age of 40 is going to be having about 50% of her eggs potentially abnormal. Now, that actually doesn't explain the whole piece. So if we actually understand a little bit more about ovulation and what occurs, the egg that we eventually ovulate actually didn't even come into the running until 4 months prior. So why is that so significant? That a large, besides, of course, again, how I said before, that the older you are, the more abnormal eggs you might have. We're also seeing a lot of abnormalities happening in those 4 months leading up to ovulation. And basically what is happening is that premature eggs, or premature follicles is a better way to say it, 4 months prior, become recruited. Eventually one will become the egg that will eventually ovulate, but it's during that time period that the chromosomes are split, eggs are being matured, and a lot of things can go wrong during that process. And the reason is that process takes up a lot of energy. And so this is the big, I guess, like dividing piece between the younger women and the older women, or younger people trying to get pregnant, older people trying to get pregnant, is energy and mitochondrial damage. So over time, as we age, our mitochondria, which actually, so all our cells have these energy powerhouses called mitochondria, and our eggs, just like any other cells in our body, are cells. And so over time, just due to a lot of stressors, there can be some damage. So one of the most important things when it comes to egg quality and what we want to be spending a lot of our attention on is energy for the cell and mitochondria. So what are some things that a woman in her 40s can be doing specifically if she really wants to improve egg quality? So first, looking at lifestyle and diet to improve egg quality. So if you watched any of the previous videos of this series, I did talk a little bit about alcohol. So when I was in naturopathic school, we used to nickname alcohol as a mitochondrial toxin. So eliminating alcohol can go a big way in improving egg quality. And again, all these tips that I'm describing really because again, we already talked about that 4-month window prior to ovulation. Really, ideally, all these recommendations I'm going to be talking about really should be started about 6 months prior to trying to conceive. So that's alcohol. The other is various environmental toxins, specifically plastic. So if you're someone who drinks water out of plastic bottles, also if you get a lot of takeout and the takeout is coming in plastic containers, maybe you're also storing leftovers in Tupperware or various plastic containers, it's a good idea to get rid of those. So want to switch over to glass, metal. Also, if you don't want to bring in all this like containers into, specifically you live in the city and you don't want to carry it all, I highly recommend, there's a lot of great compostable brands out there, specifically if you don't want to create more damage to the planet, but also want to keep yourself safe. The big thing specifically with plastic is really avoiding heat, acidity, and fat. So that's going to be leaching a lot more of the components of the plastic that you don't want, and that is going to be definitely affecting your ovarian reserve. Other toxins to definitely keep in mind are BPA, which lines a lot of cans unless they're labeled as BPA free. Though some of the BPA alternatives might also be just as bad as BPA itself. Dioxin, which is component of bleach and can be found in some sanitary feminine sanitary products, phthalates, and also parabens. So these are all things that could be leaching in your cosmetic products, your cleaning products. So definitely want to make sure that you're switching over to non-toxic brands as much as possible, specifically a minimum of 6 months prior. Dietary wise, probably one of the best diets, regardless if you're in your 40s trying to get pregnant, or somebody even watching this maybe in their 20s trying to get pregnant, the one diet that really has the most support when it comes to fertility is the Mediterranean diet. And why is because, one, you're having a variety of antioxidant rich vegetables and fruits, lots of rich omega-3 sources, either from fish and certain nuts and seeds, as well as monounsaturated fats from olive oil and also from nuts and seeds or avocados, and also the emphasis on good whole non-processed grains and minimize refined sugars and carbohydrates, which actually not so much a big factor when it comes to egg quality, but high consumption of refined sugars and refined carbohydrates can impact ovulation. So it's another great reason why the Mediterranean diet or Mediterranean-like diet could be really helpful for fertility. And it's also great for the partner as well. So those are some of the lifestyle and dietary tips. Now, what are some supplements that you might be considering that could have like the best impact when it comes to egg quality? And again, I highly recommend doing this for a minimum of 6 months for the best outcome. So first, definitely get yourself on a good high quality multi. My favorite multi out there is by Metabolic Maintenance, and that is their Fem1, and it's only 1 capsule. And what's so great about it is that you have the methylated folate, which is going to be really important just for fertility in general. High dose of vitamin D, also selenium and zinc. So this is going to be really important, not just for egg quality, but just for fertility actually in general. The next really heavy hitter specifically for women in their 40s is ubiquinol. And so ubiquinol is a form of CoQ10, which is more bioavailable. And CoQ10 is like the primary source, or like primary, what really fuels the mitochondria. And again, we said that mitochondria is so important for egg quality. So ubiquinol, and most women in their 40s will need to be taking anywhere from 400 to 600. It is fat soluble, so it's definitely recommended to take with food or with a fat source, which was something I forgot, that also for as far as fish oils are concerned, choosing one that has very high DHA is also going to be favorable. So about wanting to get about a fish oil that is going to contribute like 600 to 800 milligrams of DHA. Next on the list is resveratrol. One of the ones I really like is by Vital Nutrients, their resveratrol ultra, and it has a very high amount, so it's about like 500 milligrams. Resveratrol, very strong antioxidant that is derived from a lot of our red and purple fruits, specifically grapes. That's another really, really important one. After resveratrol, I highly recommend adding acetyl L-carnitine and acetylcysteine. These are going to be really important also for egg quality. And then lastly would be R-alpha-lipoic acid. Specifically, R-alpha-lipoic acid is a great antioxidant for egg quality. The one thing about alpha-lipoic acid in general, that you really do want to take it away from food. Some of my patients say that it might be a little bit nauseating. If that is your case, probably want to have it after, like an hour after either a very full meal or taking it before bed, or worst case scenario, if you really don't tolerate it, you could have it with a little bit of fruit and it wouldn't necessarily compromise the bioavailability. Now, if you're someone who, again, a lot of our viewers are trying to quote unquote have a natural pregnancy, but maybe you're watching this and you're considering doing IVF, or you're already on that trial, or maybe you've had a few failed rounds, you have a good idea of your ovarian reserve and your egg quality. For some women, to really up the ante, might also benefit from adding DHEA. So DHEA is a steroid hormone, which is one of the parent steroid hormones. It's through DHEA that we produce testosterone and eventually becomes estrogen. Whenever I prescribe this for my patients, because there are some negative side effects to DHEA, specifically breakouts, I often pair that with pregnenolone, which is another parent hormone. So that's another possibility. And then lastly would be melatonin. So some women definitely respond, again, if a lot of these things haven't really arrived at the result, adding those one or two of those last two, either the DHEA or the melatonin, could also bring favorable results. So those are all my interventions when it comes to egg quality. And again, yes, it is true that women in their 40s do have more chromosomal abnormal eggs, but a lot happens in those 4 months. So both, again, even if you're not in your 40s, you could actually still benefit from these recommendations, specifically if you have been trying a long time and still have not gotten pregnant and everything has been ruled out. So hopefully that was helpful. And remember, if you like this content, don't forget to like it. Also feel free to add any comments into the chat. We'll also include some links to the Full Script if you have not subscribed to Full Script, which is my online dispensary, which one you'll get 10% off, and you can always trust the products on that site. Plus you'll also have access to all my recommendations. We'll include those links also in the notes of this YouTube. And also, if you're ready to get started on your own fertility journey, don't hesitate to book an appointment with us. I will be going on my maternity leave at the end of April, but don't worry, you'll be taken care of by my great associate, Dr. Pauline Hung, and you can read more about her also by visiting our website, simplicityhealthassociates.com. And there's going to be some really interesting videos. Next one, I'm actually going to talk about the men, or the sperm donor, or the partner, or whoever you want to call him, because there are some things that he should be doing, or yeah, exactly. So hopefully you found this useful, and I'll see you next time.